Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered why some people move through life as if obstacles melt before them? Why they seem unbreakable, untouchable, unstoppable? It's not luck, nor is it some grand secret whispered by the universe. It is choice. A simple choice, repeated daily until that choice becomes who they are. Stay with me, because by the end of this you'll see that becoming unstoppable is not about force. It's about consistency. And you'll see that the only thing standing between you and the life you imagine is your willingness to choose discipline over and over again. Most people walk through life believing that freedom is the ability to do whatever they wish, whenever they wish, without restriction. It sounds poetic, a life without limits, boundaries, or rules. Yet, if you look closer, you will see that this idea of freedom is often a mirage that keeps people trapped. Because freedom without structure is not freedom at all. It is drift. It is being tossed by the winds of circumstance, by every fleeting feeling, by every passing mood. It is waking up each day enslaved not by an external master, but by an internal chaos that whispers, "Not today," whenever discipline calls. True freedom does not lie in the absence of rules, but in the mastery of oneself. It is the ability to direct your own life, to stand above your impulses rather than kneel before them. Discipline is the invisible architecture of real freedom. Without it, you are free only to fall into procrastination, into regret, into the soft decay of wasted potential. But with it, you build a foundation strong enough to stand on. You become the sculptor of your own fate. Consider the river. The river's banks are its discipline. Without its edges, the river is not a river at all. It becomes a flood, spilling everywhere, losing power, losing direction. But with its banks, it carves through mountains. It cuts stone. It gives life where it flows. Precisely because it is contained, the banks do not restrain the river, they empower it. In the same way, your daily discipline channels your energy, your time, your focus into something that can move mountains. People often recoil when they hear the word discipline. They think it means punishment, austerity, a denial of pleasure. But discipline is not punishment. It is practice. It is a conscious act of devotion to yourself, to your highest possibilities. It is choosing to do what you must do even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. Discipline is how you show up for your dreams when motivation has abandoned you, when inspiration is silent, when the world offers you every excuse to shrink back into comfort. Comfort, that seductive cage that feels like freedom until you look closer and see the rusted bars. Real discipline is not born from self-hatred or from a whip at your back. It is born from respect for yourself, for the life you want to live, for the tiny window of time you have on this earth. You do not discipline yourself because you dislike who you are. You discipline yourself because you see who you could become if only you keep showing up. There is a paradox here that frightens many people away. Discipline requires sacrifice. To be free, to run fast, you must shed the unnecessary weight. To be free to climb high, you must leave behind what keeps you on the ground. This sacrifice feels harsh only to the part of you addicted to comfort and distraction. But beyond that discomfort lies the truth. Every act of discipline is an act of liberation. Every time you say, "Not today," to your lower impulses, you say yes to your greater self. Look at those who do extraordinary things. the artist who paints for hours in solitude, the athlete who trains before the sun rises, the thinker who writes page after page while the world sleeps. They are not confined by discipline, they are freed by it. They can explore the furthest edges of their potential precisely because they have chosen to bind themselves to a practice, a routine, a code of conduct that lifts them above the chaos that swallows so many others. Freedom without discipline is a child's wish. It is the freedom of a leaf in the wind, drifting, spinning, at the mercy of the elements. But freedom forged through discipline is different. It is the freedom of the eagle who soars not because there is no wind, but because it has mastered how to ride it. It is the freedom of the ship that sails, not because there are no waves, but because it has learnt how to navigate them. It is the freedom of the ship that sails, not because there is no wind. Ask yourself, which freedom do you really crave? The false freedom that keeps you soft, scattered, and dependent on fleeting whims? Or the deeper freedom that comes only through mastery? The freedom to wake up and know that whatever must be done, you have the will to do it. The choice is yours, repeated daily, until the choice becomes you. That is discipline, and that is freedom. There is a quiet power hidden in the things we repeat. Most people search for dramatic change, hoping that life will bend to a single moment of effort, a burst of motivation, a surge of willpower, an inspiring speech that flicks some internal switch forever. But real transformation rarely arrives with fanfare. It does not announce itself with fireworks or trumpet blasts. It tiptoes in on the back of small, ordinary acts, repeated so often they begin to seem invisible. Yet they shape everything you become. We live in a world that worships intensity, but forgets consistency. Anyone can run hard for a day. Anyone can declare a bold resolution on the first morning of a new year. But the power of repetition is not found in grand declarations. It lives in the unnoticed moments when you choose the same action again and again until it becomes part of you, woven into the fabric of your days. It is easy to underestimate this power because it hides in plain sight. One push-up changes nothing. One page written is insignificant. One honest conversation with yourself feels too small to matter. But repetition is not about the moment. It is about the momentum. Small things, multiplied by time, create massive change. A single drop of water does nothing to a stone, but drops falling day after day will carve a canyon through granite. You might not see this process happening. It can feel discouraging because your mind wants immediate proof, evidence that your effort matters. But repetition is patient. It reshapes you from within before the outside world catches up. This is why so many give up too soon. They dig for a while, see no gold, and abandon the mine just inches from treasure. From center treasure, the disciplined understand this. They do not worship motivation. They do not wait for the right feeling to arrive, like an honored guest before they begin. They trust in the quiet force of repeated action. They know that it is not what you do once in a while that defines you, but what you do every day, especially when it feels pointless, dull, or unnoticed. These are the days that build your character like a stone wall, one brick at a time. Imagine two seeds planted side by side. One is watered every day, the other is watered only when the gardener feels inspired. Which one will thrive? Nature itself whispers the secret. Repetition is growth. Consistency is nourishment. Even the tallest tree in the forest grew because something kept showing up for it. Rain, sun, seasons, repeating their patient cycle. Look at your own habits. They are your personal rituals of repetition. They are proof of what you truly value, not what you claim to value. You can say you want strength, but do you show up for your body every day? You can say you want wisdom, but do you feed your mind daily, even when distractions tempt you away? Every repeated choice writes your story in invisible ink, until one day it becomes visible for the world to read. And so many people drift through life wondering why nothing changes, never realizing they are repeating something too. The same excuses, the same justifications, the same little betrayals of self-promise. This too is repetition, repetition that corrodes instead of builds. A habit of giving in becomes just as strong as a habit of showing up. It is not a question of whether you will repeat something. You already do. The only question is whether what you repeat is lifting you up or quietly pulling you under. The beauty of repetition is that it does not care who you were yesterday. It does not judge your past failures. It waits for your choice today and tomorrow and the day after. It is the silent teacher, the hidden artist shaping your life from the background. If you respect it, it will transform you in ways you can barely imagine. From where you stand now, honor the mundane. Trust the simple acts. A page written today becomes a book tomorrow. A small workout today becomes a strong body next year. A daily moment of honesty with yourself becomes a mind clear enough to see what others miss. Let repetition become your quiet ally. Let it carve you, shape you, strengthen you, until one day you wake up and realize the unstoppable person you dreamed of becoming is no longer a distant vision. It is simply who you are, built drop by drop, day by day, choice by choice. One of the greatest traps a person can fall into is the belief that action must wait for the right mood to arrive. So many good intentions are buried under the soft blanket of, "I don't feel like it today," and tomorrow brings the same whisper. Days roll into weeks, weeks into months, and the life you once dreamed of slowly dissolves into the fog of moods left unchecked. If you look closely, you will see that mood is a fickle master. It rises and falls like the tide, pulled by sleep, by weather, by a careless word from a stranger, or a memory that floats to the surface uninvited. When you surrender your choices to your moods, you become as inconsistent as they are, steady one moment, restless the next, motivated at sunrise, defeated by sunset. Your potential becomes a hostage of your emotions. But there is another path. It begins when you realize that discipline is the art of acting independent of your moods. It is the recognition that your feelings are visitors. Important, yes, but not in command. They knock on your door in the morning, bringing their demands and complaints. But you are not required to obey every whim that your mood presents. You can choose to greet them kindly, but then do what needs to be done anyway. It sounds simple. It is simple. And yet, it is the difference between a life built and a life imagined but never lived. Some days you will wake up with energy and purpose, ready to tackle what must be done. Cherish those days, but do not depend on them. Most of the time, your mind will offer reasons to delay. It will tempt you with comfort, with distraction, with a softer path that asks less of you now, but demands more of you later. It will say, "Not today, not now, just once won't hurt." And if you listen, you strengthen the habit of hesitation. Each time you choose to act, despite your mood, you train a deeper muscle. You prove to yourself that you are in charge. You build trust with your own mind. This is not about suppressing emotion or pretending you feel nothing. It is about deciding which voice will steer your day forward. Discipline says, I see how you feel. But this is what we do anyway. The strongest people you admire, the ones who appear unshakable, are not free from moods. They have simply learned not to serve them. The writer writes when uninspired. The athlete trains when sore and tired. The entrepreneur builds when the world is quiet and doubting. They do not wait to feel ready, they act to become ready. And often, it is the act itself that shifts the mood. Action creates energy. Movement changes state. The mind catches up when it realizes you are serious. Think of the moments in your own life when you overcame hesitation, when you did what needed doing, even when every cell of your body begged for comfort. Maybe you rose early to study when sleep seemed sweeter. Maybe you stayed the course on a hard day when you could have given up. Remember that feeling afterward? The quiet pride, the small fire of self-respect that glowed inside you? That is the real reward of discipline. You know you can rely on yourself. Without this, you drift. You hope your moods will someday align with your dreams, that motivation will arrive at your door each morning like clockwork. But it won't. Discipline is your insurance policy against the unreliability of how you feel. It is the grown mind's refusal to bow to the passing storms of emotion. Some people misunderstand this and think it means a life stripped of joy or spontaneity, but the truth is the opposite. When you act independent of mood, you gain a freedom most people never taste. You are not at the mercy of your tiredness, your doubts, your waves of fear. You do what must be done, and in that you find a deeper joy. The joy of knowing that no matter how you feel, you are still moving forward. You are still becoming. Watch your moods, but do not worship them. Let them pass through you like weather over a mountain, changing shapes, shifting winds, but never moving the mountain itself. That mountain is your choice, repeated daily, whether the sky is clear or heavy with storm. Discipline is the anchor that keeps you steady, and in that steadiness you become unstoppable, because no fleeting feeling can sway you from what you have decided to be. There is an invisible thread that connects what you do each day to the person you become tomorrow. Most people don't see it because it works quietly, almost imperceptibly, shaping you in the shadows of your routine. But if you stop and pay attention, you'll discover a simple truth. Your habits are not just things you do. They are the sculptors of your identity. They chisel away the unnecessary, polish the rough edges, and reveal who you truly are beneath all the noise. Many people carry around an idea of who they wish to be: strong, disciplined, wise, creative, respected. They picture a version of themselves that moves through life with purpose and power. But this imagined self does not appear out of thin air. It does not come when the world finally notices your potential or when luck knocks on your door. It emerges slowly, patiently, through the repetition of small acts. Your habits. Think of your habits as votes for the person you wish to become. Each time you rise when the alarm rings, instead of sinking back into comfort, you cast a vote for discipline. Each time you choose to read, instead of scrolling mindlessly, you cast a vote for wisdom. Each time you speak the truth, even when it costs you something, you cast a vote for integrity. No single vote transforms you overnight, but they accumulate, day after day, until the evidence is undeniable. Your identity is no longer an idea. It is lived and proven by your actions. This is why discipline matters so deeply. It is not about forcing yourself to suffer for the sake of pride. It is about aligning what you do with who you want to be. Without this alignment, there is only conflict. You say one thing but do another. And in that gap, your confidence slowly erodes. You begin to doubt yourself, because deep down you know your words and your actions are strangers to each other. But when your habits and your desired identity match, something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to move through the world with a quiet strength. You no longer need to tell people who you are. Your life speaks for you. There is no need for declarations or endless promises. The small things you do daily announce your character long before you open your mouth. This is why the smallest habits matter more than grand gestures. People love to make dramatic plans. A month of extreme training, a week of strict discipline, a day of inspired creativity. But it is not the dramatic gesture that shapes you. It is the tiny act done when no one is watching. This is why the careful brushing your teeth is a small act of self-respect, repeated every day. Stretching for 10 minutes is a small act of care for your body. Sitting in silence for 5 minutes is a small act of devotion to your own mind. These acts are easy to dismiss, but they are the seeds of who you become. The danger is that the same power works in reverse. Habits that contradict your ideal self do not disappear just because you wish them away. They shape you too. The habit of lying to yourself with excuses, the habit of numbing discomfort with distractions, the habit of speaking of dreams but never lifting a finger to build them. These too cast votes not for who you want to be, but for who you will settle for becoming. The beauty of habits is that they do not require perfection. They require persistence. Missing one day does not erase your progress. It is the return that matters. The willingness to pick up the brush and keep painting the picture of your identity, stroke by stroke, choice by choice. Over time you realize that discipline is not the enemy of freedom, it is its birthplace. When your habits match your vision of yourself, you are free from the burden of pretending. There is no need to force yourself to act a certain way. It has become your nature. You are no longer playing a part. You are simply living as you decided to live. Watch your habits. Guard them as you would a precious garden. Tend to them daily. Weed out what does not belong. Water what strengthens you. Each repetition is another thread woven into the fabric of your identity. And when enough threads are woven, you wake up one morning and realize you have become the person you once only dreamed of being, not because you wished it, but because you did it, one quiet habit at a time. It is so easy to underestimate a single moment. 1 hour seems too short to matter. One choice feels too small to change anything. And yet, if you pause and really look at how a lifetime is built, you see that it is nothing more than countless moments, stacked side by side. Tiny choices, tiny actions, each one carrying far more weight than it appears to hold at first glance. People often believe that greatness is born in grand turning points. The breakthrough, the lucky break, the big opportunity that falls from the sky. But beneath every visible moment of triumph are thousands of unseen moments that made it possible. Quiet moments, private decisions, silent promises kept when no one was watching. These are the bricks that build an unstoppable life. Each disciplined moment is like a seed dropped into the soil of your future. Alone it looks insignificant, almost laughably small. But planted, watered, and repeated, it becomes something that grows beyond your imagination. The problem is that most people never stay long enough to see the harvest. They plant a seed, then dig it up when patience wears thin. They begin something with a spark of motivation, then abandon it when the weather changes inside their mind. And so they live many half-begun lives, but never a full one. When you choose discipline in a single moment, when you do the thing you said you'd do, even though it's easier not to, you are not just shaping that hour. You are shaping the kind of person you are becoming. You are writing a line in the story of who you are. And like any story, each line matters. No single sentence makes a book unforgettable. But together, they create a story that lives long after the last page is turned. Together, they create a story that lives long after the last page is turned. You do not have to master every moment, but you must honor enough of them that the pattern becomes undeniable. These disciplined moments, repeated, link together like steps on a staircase that lifts you out of who you were into who you want to be. Many people stand at the bottom step, staring at the top, frozen by how far away it seems. They forget that they don't have to leap the entire staircase in a day. They only have to take the next step, then the next, then the next, one moment at a time. Think of a single hour of focused work when your mind begged for distraction. Think of one tough conversation you chose to have instead of burying the truth. Think of one temptation you refused when it would have been easy to give in. Think of a moment when you stayed when you could have run away, or stood tall when you could have bent to fear. Each of these is a moment that echoes far beyond itself. Each one leaves a mark on your lifetime. Yet there is another side to this truth, that the moments you abandon matter just as much. It is not just what you do that shapes your life, but what you neglect, what you tolerate, what you postpone endlessly until you look back and wonder where all the time went. A moment wasted may feel harmless today, but if repeated enough, it becomes a habit, and habits stacked become your life, whether you meant for them to or not. So do not overlook the humble power of now. This moment, the one you are living in as these words reach you, is not too small to matter. It holds the same creative power as any other moment that has ever shaped your life. Within it is the chance to stand up, to begin again, to move forward 1 inch when the world tells you to stay still. The unstoppable do not possess some magical quality that others lack. They have simply learned to honor the moments others dismiss. They do not wait for the grand stage to appear before they act with intention. They pour their discipline into small tasks, knowing that each drop strengthens the current of their life's direction. One disciplined moment will not make you unstoppable, but one moment, repeated daily, will, one moment of choice, to rise instead of rest, to speak instead of stay silent, to create instead of consume, to build instead of break. That moment, lived enough times, becomes a lifetime that cannot be shaken by the passing storms. In the end, the secret is this: your lifetime is hidden inside your moments. Guard them, shape them with care, because when enough moments are chosen well, they form a life that speaks louder than any single day ever could. And that life, piece by piece, moment by moment, becomes unstoppable. Strength does not always roar. In fact, the truest strength is often clothed in silence. There is a kind of power that does not demand to be announced, proven, or performed for the world to applaud. It lives quietly in a disciplined life, in choices made without needing to be broadcast, in victories earned far from the noise of praise or recognition. So many people waste their energy trying to appear strong rather than become strong. They shout about their plans, boast about their goals, promise to change, louder and louder, as if volume could substitute for action. But in the end, the echo fades. The only thing that remains is what they did when no one was listening. Silence is not weakness. Silence is the shield of those who understand that real work happens when the world is not watching. The tree that grows strong roots does so underground, in darkness, away from eyes that would marvel at its effort. It is unseen, but essential. The same is true for a mind shaped by daily discipline. You do not need to tell the world who you are becoming. Your actions will do that for you in time. There is a calm kind of confidence in quiet consistency. When you rise each morning and keep your promises to yourself, you build a reservoir of self-trust. Each disciplined act, done silently, becomes an invisible armor. People may wonder how you endure when they would have broken. They may ask how you keep showing up when motivation is gone, how you stand tall when storms come. They will not see the countless hours you spent building your foundation in silence. They will only see that you are unshaken. Those who speak less and do more are misunderstood by many. The noisy world confuses silence for absence, restraint for hesitation, stillness for weakness. But silence is not the absence of power. It is the containment of it. It is the choice to let your deeds carry your message. It is the patience to wait while others burn themselves out in constant noise. Look closely and you'll notice something curious. The loudest people often have the least to show for their noise. They promise loudly, but deliver little. They declare their discipline, but crumble when no one is around to clap. The disciplined understand this trap and stay clear of it. They know the energy wasted on bragging is better spent on building. There is a saying that a lion does not need to tell you it is a lion. Its presence, its quiet watchfulness, its calm readiness speak louder than any roar meant just to intimidate. The same is true for you when you embrace discipline in silence. You become a force not because you make noise about your effort, but because your effort has made you unshakable from within. Silence also protects you from the world's distractions. When you are not busy explaining yourself, defending your path, or proving your worth, you conserve your focus. You keep your energy in a circle too tight for idle talk to drain. This is why so few people become unstoppable. They leak their strength through words that should have stayed unspoken. When you live in silence, your failures stay yours. They are lessons learned privately, without the weight of others' judgment or their shallow advice. Your victories, too, are sweeter because they were earned without needing an audience. And when you finally step forward to reveal what you have built in secret, your skills, your resilience, your results, the world will have no choice but to listen. Guard your silence. Let your actions announce you when they are ready. Let your strength grow in places no one sees. Keep your discipline close like a candle in the dark, not flaunted, but fiercely guarded from the winds of distraction and doubt. Be so consistent that you confuse those who doubted you. Be so steady in your silent work that in time your presence alone speaks for you. There will always be noise in the world, the clamor of opinions, the endless chatter of those who do little and speak much. Let them talk. While they spend their days performing strength, you spend yours becoming it. When you build in silence, you cannot be shaken by their doubt. When you grow in silence, you cannot be uprooted by their noise. So one day, when you stand where you once only dreamed of standing, they will ask you how you did it. You will know the answer cannot be shouted in a single line. The answer is written in your discipline, your silence, your strength. All the days you chose to work quietly until your actions spoke so loudly that the world could not help but listen. There is a kind of promise that is more sacred than any vows spoken before others. It is the promise you make to yourself when no one is there to witness it, no one to applaud it, no one to hold you to it, but you. This quiet contract is where real self-respect is born. And discipline is how you honor it. Most people misunderstand discipline as a burden, a punishment you force on yourself to become something better. But look deeper and you'll see that discipline at its core is a declaration of worth. When you choose to do what you said you would do, you are saying, I matter enough to keep my word to myself. That simple act, showing up for your own life, is one of the purest forms of self-respect there is. You can always tell how much a person respects themselves by how they treat their own promises. Do they brush them off when the mood changes? Do they wait for others to hold them accountable, to push them along, to remind them who they said they would be? Or do they stand up alone in the dark morning and do what must be done simply because they said they would? Each time you keep your word to yourself, you strengthen a bond that is deeper than any contract written on paper. It is the bond between who you are and who you want to be. When you break that word, you feel it, that sharp, quiet wound inside that whispers, you are not yet someone you can fully trust. It doesn't matter how small the promise was. It could be waking up when you said you would, writing a page when you promised a book, going for a walk because you said your body deserved it. Each time you follow through, you cast a vote for trust in yourself. Each time you abandon it, you erode that trust a little more. Discipline, then, is not a harsh master but a gentle guardian. It keeps you aligned when temptation tries to pull you off your path. It reminds you that your time is precious and that your life is too brief to spend betraying your own potential. And it teaches you that you are worthy of the effort, worthy of showing up for, worthy of building up, worthy of finishing what you start. When you see someone who moves through life with a quiet confidence, who does not need to boast or prove themselves at every turn, you are looking at someone who respects themselves deeply. They do not need applause to act. They do not need pressure to keep going. Their discipline is not for the world's approval. It is for themselves, for that steady flame of dignity that burns within them. This is not arrogance. It is a kind of calm self-ownership that others can feel without a word spoken. People often think self-love is about ease and indulgence, giving yourself permission to rest endlessly, to avoid discomfort, to accept every excuse that feels good in the moment. But real self-love is sterner and more enduring. It says, I know what I am capable of, and I refuse to abandon that just because today feels heavy. It is the parent who makes the child eat nourishing food instead of candy for dinner. It is the friend who tells you the truth you need to hear, not the lie that keeps you comfortable. Discipline is your way of doing that for yourself. You may falter. You will. Everyone does. There will be days when you do not keep your promise, when you slip, when you betray that quiet contract and feel the sting of regret. But what matters more than any single failure is your return. Self-respect is not about perfection. It is about recommitment. Over and over, you come back to yourself. You stand back up. You say, I am still worth it, and you begin again. If you want to love yourself in a way that cannot be shaken by anyone's approval or rejection, learn to see discipline not as chains, but as proof that you care about your own becoming. Each time you choose to do what you said you would, you stand taller inside your own mind. You begin to trust your word as law, and when you do, the world feels a little less uncertain, because at the very least you can rely on you. And one day, when others wonder how you built such quiet strength, how you move through life with your head held high and your spirit unshaken, the answer will be simple. You kept your promises to yourself. You loved yourself enough to do what needed to be done, no matter how small, no matter how silent, no matter how hard. And that is the kind of respect no one can give you, and no one can ever take away. There is a hidden mistake that ruins the promise of discipline for many people. They treat it like a finish line. They imagine discipline as something you endure for a season, a 30-day challenge, a 6-week transformation, a brief sprint to reach a goal. They pour themselves into it for a while, counting the days until they can finally stop, breathe, and slide back into old comforts. But real discipline is not a cage you live in for a time, only to break free from later. It is not a punishment or a test you pass once and then forget. It is an infinite game, a way of living, not a moment of performance. If you look at anything enduring and powerful, you'll see this truth at work. The mountain stands not because it was built once, but because it is sustained. Day after day, season after season, weathering storms without the illusion that someday it will be finished. The tree grows rings every year, each layer building on the last, never stopping until it dies. It does not reach a final stage where it says, I am done. Life itself is an infinite unfolding. So too is the life of someone who has chosen discipline as their companion. People often become exhausted by their own expectations because they treat growth like a race, always chasing the moment they think they will arrive. But if you are wise, you see that there is nowhere final to arrive. Every milestone you reach reveals the next horizon. Every level of strength you build shows you a deeper level to master. The point is not to finish the game, but to stay in it. To keep showing up for yourself, not for a season, but for a lifetime. This understanding frees you from the trap of perfection. When you know discipline is endless, you stop panicking when you slip. You do not abandon yourself because you missed a day, broke a streak, or fell short of your own standard. You know that the game does not end with one lost round. You know that the real power is not in never falling, but in refusing to stop playing. There is always the next moment to choose again, the next day to keep the promise you broke yesterday. In this way, you become unstoppable, not because you never fail, but because you never quit the game. This is why the disciplined often appear calm. They have let go of the feverish obsession with results alone. They care about the outcome, yes, but more than that, they care about who they are becoming by staying in the practice. They know that goals can motivate you for a moment, but only devotion to the process will carry you through the years. They do not fear the endlessness of it. They find peace in it. There is something sacred in knowing that every day you rise to meet yourself again, refining, shaping, building without needing a final destination. When you see discipline as an infinite game, you stop bargaining with it. You no longer say, I'll do this for a month to earn that reward. You say, this is who I am now. This is what I do. Because I have decided that becoming is better than arriving. The man who trains his mind daily does not do so only to pass an exam. The woman who moves her body every morning does not do so only to fit into a dress by summer. They do it because it is part of who they are now, and that identity shapes every part of their life, visible and hidden. There is deep fulfillment in this way of living. It removes the anxiety of needing to prove yourself in a single moment. It shifts your attention from the final result to the daily ritual. You learn to love the work itself, the quiet mornings, when you show up, the small victories that compound in silence, the dignity that comes from knowing you kept going when others stopped. It's no longer about reaching the end of the road. It is about knowing you will keep walking it as long as you draw breath. Discipline is the infinite game that teaches you the truth about your own power. It reveals that greatness is not a sudden explosion, but a steady flame that refuses to go out. It is not loud or dramatic. It does not beg for attention. It glows in the background of your life, lighting every room you walk into with the quiet proof that you are someone who stays in the game when others grow tired, and when the world tries to rush you, to measure you by fast results and quick wins. Remember that you are not here to finish fast. You are here to become unshakable, one deliberate choice at a time, playing the only game worth playing forever. The game of who you choose to be, again and again, until your last day comes, and even then, the echo of your discipline will outlive you. So, go back 10 years to calm, and 15, and 20, and 30, and 40, and 50, and 80 years. When you step back and see it all, you realize that discipline is not a chain that binds you. It is the key that unlocks your deepest freedom. It is not a punishment, but a profound act of self-respect. It is not a race to be won in a moment, but an infinite game to be played for a lifetime. Through discipline, you reclaim power from your moods, your fears, and your excuses. Through repetition, you shape each passing moment into a building block of a life that cannot be moved by passing storms. By choosing the hard thing when it is easier to do nothing, you prove to yourself again and again that you are not your laziness, not your doubt, not your fleeting feelings. You are your choices, made daily, made in silence, made when no one is watching. Every quiet promise you keep to yourself is another vote for the future you say you want. Every repeated action is another root grown deep beneath the surface, unseen yet unshakable. And the stronger those roots become, the less you must pretend to be strong, you simply are. The less you must shout about your plans, you simply live them. The less you must fear the world's noise, you have built your own calm, steady shelter within. Discipline reminds you that freedom without structure is chaos, that comfort without commitment is decay, that dreams without daily devotion are dust in the wind. But a single choice, honored again and again, becomes something no force can stop. Not time, not failure, not doubt. You do not need to arrive at some final peak to claim your power. The moment you decide to live disciplined, you are already walking as the person you once thought you had to chase. So do not wait for the perfect day. Do not look for the mood to come save you. Do not waste another moment hoping someone else will hold you accountable for the life that belongs to you alone. Choose your path. Today, absolutely repeat that choice tomorrow. Let your silence be your shield and your actions be your voice. And when you falter, because you will, remember that the game is not over. It never ends. There is always another chance to stand back up, to take another step, to cast another vote for who you are becoming. This is discipline, not a single heroic act, but a humble decision, repeated until it shapes you into someone unstoppable, someone whose life itself whispers the quiet truth. Freedom is built, choice by choice, moment by moment, until you become it.